Hello everyone, thank you very much for joining us and welcome to this video. My name is Ohna. Today we're going to be talking about my favorite thing to do in Minecraft, which is fish. We're going to start with very simple things and we're going to work our way up to the more complicated or specific and even superstitious things. So start with the basics. Where can you fish? The answer is any body of water at all. If it's water, doesn't matter how big, like an ocean, or how small, a single one by one block, you can fish it. Now each of them is going to have their own little specifics depending on which biome you're in and how big the body of water it is. We'll deal with each of those in turn, but you can fish any body of water that's above ground, below ground, and even artificial bodies of water. So you can create your own fishing pond above ground or below ground, and it's going to have the same fishing characteristics as any existing body of water in the game. So that gives you a lot of flexibility. Use your own materials, your own fencing, your own lighting to just set up your fishing area exactly like you like. So that just shows one of the little problems with this area. The fish got caught in the lip. We'll come back to that a bit more. So when you're starting out in the game, one of the first things often you want to find is string, because you need to make a fishing rod and bows. So often you'll be have a situation where you'll be just coming up on nightfall. In this case, we're halfway into the night or more than halfway. But you'll hopefully be able to get yourself a spawner, a spider spawner, or a desert temple, find some string. If not, try to get yourself to the coast, or listen as you go over caves for spiders. Try to get yourself to the coast, and here's one trick I use. I just sort of pan along here and I see if I can see a spider. There's one right there. There's actually two. That's perfect. So I'm going to get myself close, but not too close here. And I'm going to basically lure them towards me into the water. Now, not too deep in the ocean. I don't want them to drop their string 30 levels below the surface of the water. So there you go. That was quite easy to get myself. I don't even have to worry about him. I'm going to get myself a couple pieces of string. And now I can go find myself a safe spot to fish all night. Now here's an example of a safe spot we were just on. Desert island off the coast. As long as there's nothing already spawned there, or you get there before nightfall, a small desert island is too small to allow anything to spawn nearby you. So you could safely fish right off the edge of this all night long. And you don't have to worry about those mobs over there. Every once in a while you can take a peek, see what they're doing, see if they're coming after you. But this island here is pretty safe. If you want to be even more safe, throw a few lights down, a few torches here and there, and you'll be more secure. And that goes for as small as a single unit. So let's say this sandbar here was only 1 unit deep, or 1 unit wide rather. You could just stand on it all night long, way away from any hostile mobs, and fish all night long. For that matter, you can actually stand in the water. That's a completely valid location. And for that matter, you can actually fish underwater. Still a valid location. And all the while, if you get in a problem with a mob coming your way and you don't want to lose this cast, you can actually move around. And you move faster than a mob in water. Most mobs, except for guardians. So this is, you can actually fish your way to next destinations. If you wanted to get over there by going through the water and you don't want to go by land by night, you can just fish your way all the way over there. You might have to stop. The limit is 32 units, but you can actually just fish your way. Now, I haven't tried a boat yet. I suppose it'll work. Yeah, it should work. Let's try that. It should be fun. It's going to be a little trickier. Oh, bugger! Well, that was a nice surprise. We took our boat. Luckily, we survived, though. So it looks like we're going to have to make a quick boat. That was unexpected. See, I left that island. Excuse me there. I left that island and I came back. So in that meantime, a mob spawned when I wasn't there. But luckily for us, we got a stack of wood. What am I making? A boat. Sorry for the delay. That was not part of the planned video. And here we are. Okay, we'll keep that crafting table just in case. That was quite lucky on my part. I did not see him at all. Maybe you guys caught him. You're paying more attention. So, you've secured your string, made your first fishing rod, had a decent first night of fishing because you managed to get it early enough. Now you're ready to set up a more permanent fishing shack. So I'm going to show you a couple of the locations I've chosen. You might notice in the background a forest mansion burning down. I'll come back to that at the end of the video. That's for people who have watched my other video on forest mansions. There's a special surprise in one of my seeds. A quote-unquote surprise. Now there's my mine right over there. I've got a fishing shack over here, another fishing shack over here, and another fishing shack over here. These are just example locations to show you some of the pluses and minuses. Now this one right here is the worst of the three easily, because it faces a piece of land right away. That means any mobs that spawn over there are going to see you and come on over here. So the easy solution to that is put a good number of torches all over this whenever you see monsters spawn, and that location's just going to get safer and safer each time you fish. I'm going to eat something. But ideally, you would rather not face land. So an alternate solution, I'm actually closest to the best one, so I'll show you that one next. An alternate solution is just face the ocean, as close as you can get to a large body of water with no land within, let's say, 60 units or so. And you're going to have almost no risk of any mobs coming after you from those locations. They may spawn there, but they won't see you. Now, one thing that's important to note about this location is, and I'll show you in the next location too, from here, I can actually see the top of that hill. That means if I was fishing from here and a mob spawned there, they would see me and come down and chase me. So in order to add a little extra layer of security, not only have I put up the wall to level 3, so now I can't see that hill, so they can't see me, but I've also added this lip right here. So one block of water, and then above it, either 1 or 2 solid blocks. And basically that confuses zombies and all the different mobs, except for spiders. Spiders can climb walls. That confuses them enough, and they'll just pounce around here all night long. As long as they can't climb this wall, there has to be a gap of 1 unit here. As long as they can't climb that wall and they don't jump, they'll just wander around here all night long, and you'll be safe to fish all night long. In the odd event that one comes across, you can deal with them at least one at a time, rather than having 6 or 7 to deal with at once. Another thing I like to do in my fishing shacks is set up a jump. So basically it allows me to jump in in the event that I'm being chased, and they will not be able to jump after me because mobs don't jump, except for spiders, of course. So we'll go over to the third one over here. Now on the way, let's talk about some basics. A fishing rod will last for 65 casts, an unenchanted rod. So 65 casts turns out to be approximately 3 sessions with normal weather and 2 sessions with rain, and I'll explain that a bit more. So just before we do that, here's an example of another shack, which is good because it faces the ocean. However, it's got all these treetops right here. So really what you want to do in this case is put a roof on it. Now I personally like fishing with no roofs, but most people would probably use a roof. And that full roof is going to secure you from view from all those mobs. They won't know you're there, so they won't bother you at all. You can just, well, you'd finish the roof, but you can just sit here all night long and fish. Now one important thing in every single fishing situation is that you should have a lip here in the event that a reel in bounces and doesn't come into your inventory. And in most cases in this kind of setup, that will go right here or on the second level. See if we can get lucky and I missed it. But anyway, that'll end up here. And because you're more or less protected from view, especially if you have these extra blocks right here, you can pop down, grab the item, especially if it's a magic book or magic rod, and then get back to fishing. In fact, you can fish while you're doing it once you get a little practice. Now the other thing about installing a roof is that that's going to protect you from lightning during thunderstorms. And that brings us to the next topic. No, that went in our inventory. So lightning can strike either you, if you're standing out in the open, or nearby. And if it's close enough, it will do damage to you, and it's quite possible it'll even kill you. So that's another reason to have a roof. I personally like not playing with roof. I don't know why, just maybe being out in nature, but that's probably going to be important to most people. Now, we are about 5 minutes away from rain. I wanted to do most of the video out with no rain. Let's quickly talk about some of the benefits of fishing. Some of them are obvious, some of them are not. For one thing, you get experience from fishing. If you're close to your crops and your livestock matures, your trees grow, and your crops grow. So if you're far away, maybe deep in a mine shaft, a couple hundred units away, these crops may just pause in time. But when you're nearby, they're going to keep growing all night long. So having a fishing shack that's close to your mine and close to your crops is pretty ideal. So you basically try to set it up that way. So when you're fishing, you get experience from fishing, your crops grow. You also get to cook the fish while you're fishing, or as a result of fishing, and that gives you experience too. And that's one thing I like to do at night when I'm fishing. Just sit here, set up the stove with something to cook, even fish or whatever you mine that day, and just fish and monitor the stove. Now you can actually do both at the same time by right-clicking. Change the item, put a new one in, and still listen for that fishing bob sound so that you can reel it in. You can also do crafting and put stuff in the chest while you're waiting and still catch fish. So that's just a little brief side note about how to set up a fishing shack. But the third benefit, or the fourth benefit of fishing, is you get magic books, magic enchanted books, enchanted rods, name tags, and other enchanted items, which are going to be very useful in the game, especially if you're fishing early on. So we'll come back to that in a bit. One thing I want to mention is if you do a typical session of, let's say, 10 minutes long, that's all one single night time, that's going to typically yield you about 24 casts. However, if you fish underground, which is a valid fishing location, your casting rate will halve down to 12 casts per 10 minutes, so 12 casts per night time. And that situation applies to something like this. You might find yourself being forced to run into a cave for cover because you're out exploring and you don't have any home nearby, and you don't want to really go to sleep, so you can pop in a cave like this and you still have the same fishing rate because the spot your bobber is exposed to the sky. However, if you're underground or your bobber is not exposed to the sky, the rate will drop from 24 per night time down to 12. So you're definitely going to want to expose your bobber to the sky. Now, the other thing about a situation like this is that fish, just like that single hole, one by one hole, can get caught on this lip here. And that's going to mean in the middle of fishing, you're going to be forced to come out here and possibly expose yourself. So the thing you want to do, see how slow that cast was? Nothing really came all that time. Is fill in the holes. And that's going to mean you don't have to go retrieve all the items that you fished. More importantly, you're not moving. The number one thing that's going to draw the attention of mobs is movement. And so if you can avoid movement, that's going to just make you that much safer. And that applies to a fishing shack like that, where it has exposure to the shoreline. Now, some of those mobs won't see you until you move. So if you're forced to move to pick up a magic book, they're going to spot you and come after you, and then you'll end up fighting them off all night instead of fishing. Another situation you might find yourself in when you're exploring is you find yourself in the middle of a swamp. So it's worth noting that you can actually just pop yourself up on a lily pad or move a lily pad where you like in a nice large body of water, and you're going to be relatively secure in this location, and you can still reel in items. And because the swamp's only 3 deep, if you miss an item, you just pop down and get it. If you got a zombie that's found you, oh, there's the rain. So I think I mentioned that the rain was expected. I hope I mentioned that because you'll probably wonder how I knew the rain was coming. I'll come back to that 1 second. So if you happen to get spotted by a zombie while you're standing on a lily pad or any other mob, you can still move around, finish the zombie and then get back up on the lily pad. But even better is to set up a lily pad literally in the middle of the ocean, another completely valid location. So you can be running around exploring, carrying 4 lily pads, and all you have to do is find a large body of water. I hope you can see it right there in the top right hand corner. Find a large body of water. Actually, we'll just go over to it. Let's try that again. And this is more than far enough away from land that you're really not going to have any risk of zombies or anything else spotting and getting towards you or getting up to it. But the only downside of this is if you lose a cast, you have to dive 30 levels into the ocean to retrieve it. So that's a real big downside. I would almost prefer to take my chances in a smaller body of water. Alright, so it started raining. So the question is, how did I know it was going to rain? Now the Minecraft wiki says that rain occurs randomly. Unfortunately, I do not believe that to be true. In fact, I believe that rain on any given seed is almost preset. Now I don't know when it's preset. It may be before the seed's created or as the seed is generated. But any given seed number, rain will occur at the same time as for at least the first several rainstorms. So for instance, in this seed, I know it will rain on day 3. That's today. I also know it'll rain on day 7 and day 9, and if I'm not mistaken, day 5. I can't quite recall because there were so many rainstorms in a row. So I already know that about the seed. So if it's the second time you're playing a seed and it rained on day 2, then you know the next time you play that seed, say you died in hardcore, that it's going to rain on day 2 again, like clockwork. And in fact, it's going to rain almost the exact same time of day, within a couple minutes. So it's something about the way that rain is set up in the game causes that to be true. And you can predict reliably when the rainstorms occur. Now on that note, 2 things important about rainstorms. First off, the Wikia says that they last between a half day and 1 day. In practice, they almost always last about 3/4 of a day. So if it starts at night, just before dusk, it'll go to midday the next day. And if it starts in the morning, it'll go to the middle of the next night. Sometimes, especially with thunderstorms, it'll go longer. But most of the time, you won't find shorter rainfalls. On that note, you almost always will not have rain the first day of the game. I've never seen it if I can recall. The earliest I've ever seen it is the first night, and that's uncommon. But typically it'll occur on the second and third night of any seed. And if it doesn't occur on those nights, it'll definitely occur by the 5th night. So you can expect at least 1 rainfall by night 5. Now, let's deal with another situation here. You're down in your mine, you're mining away. Rainfall could occur at any time, you don't know yet, because it's day 23 and you haven't played that far in the seed. How do you know when you're at this level, and this is the same it would be in the bottom of the mine, you cannot hear any rain, you look out, you can't really tell from the sky, that could just be a regular cloud. So one suggestion is that you build a shaft all the way to the surface, making sure that's completely exposed to sky, no trees, nothing above it. And you'll notice the rain falls all the way down that shaft, even 60 levels. And you can actually fish this underground as a valid fishing spot. And going back to artificial ponds, you can actually create a pond any size, any style you want. As long as those blocks are exposed to the air, you're going to get the rain bonus. And that's something I haven't touched on yet, so we'll talk about the rain bonus here. When it rains, your fishing rate will go from 24 units every nightfall, for example, or half day, up to 33 units every half day. And that's a significant increase. So that's going to get you 9 more fish, 9 more other items every single nightfall. Now, since a rainfall lasts a day and a half, that's going to equate to about an extra 14 casts in the typical rainstorm. Now, talking about rain, the other interesting thing about rain, you'll notice over here I've made a shaft and it's raining, clearly. Yep, there's a saddle. That's our first treasure item. Over here, 5 units away, it's not raining. The reason is, this is a roof forest biome. This exact block and everything above it and everything below it is called the roof forest biome. But over here, it's the desert biome, if you notice on the left-hand side of the screen. It does not rain in dry biomes, which includes the desert. That means any biome that you're in that's dry does not get the rain bonus, even if it's raining. And rain is a global variable. So wherever you are, if it's raining in one spot, it's raining everywhere else, except in those dry locations. Cold locations also get snow. So talking about snow, you can see you still can fish, but the rate is much slower. Now snow, as far as I know, does not yield the higher fishing rate. You just quickly eat here. So when you're in an icy biome or cold biome, that's something to be aware of. However, in the ice plains and ice spikes, there's always a body of water which is not frozen. So you can still fish them and still set up the same kind of thing as you would in any other biome. Now when you're on the surface, one thing you do have to note, before we go upstairs, one of the nice side benefits that makes this shaft really worthwhile, and you can try this out for yourself, it's kind of fun. You can go right from the top and you can literally drop down the shaft, and because you're landing in water, there will be no damage at all. So basically that's I don't know what to call it, a flying elevator, but you will get down to your bottom of your mine shaft very quickly. So there's two reasons to build it. So let's quickly go back up to the surface here. There's a number of tricky topics, and this was quite a tricky demo to set up because of timing with the rain. But you notice here we are in the desert biome, not raining. I'm going to sprint over to this section over here. Not raining over here, raining here, not raining over here. That sometimes applies to coastal areas. Now coastal areas are actually a lush biome where it rains. This is beach. So anytime the sand touches the shore, it's beach. However, here's an example of a location, I believe. Yeah, we are right now in the desert location. So if I cast right there, I do not get the rain bonus. So the rule of thumb is, if it's, you need to be looking, your bobber should be where the rain bubbles are. You can actually go up and check. You can clearly see this whole area is rain bubbles, and you can double check the biome. So if you notice your fishing rate is slow, that's one thing to check. See if I can illustrate that catch and run. There we go. Make sure there's nobody behind me. Alright, now we're going to set ourselves up in a good location to talk about the next topic. A safe location, rather. One other thing I know about this rainstorm, it will not be a thunderstorm. Fairly sure about that. So, it's worth noting, if I hadn't said it already, that sometimes you're going to miss in fishing, and that's just part of the game. If you're doing 100 casts in a long rainstorm, then you're bound to miss a few. So just move on, accept it, and especially when you have rain, it's somehow hard to see the fish trail like that, because there's all the bubbles, or the raindrops are essentially the same thing. Alright, so now we're going to talk about two last things real quick. If you happen to catch leather, it will satisfy the leather achievement. Let me just quickly check what that is. Leather achievement, where are you? Cow tipper. So it will satisfy that. It's not going to be a major factor, but it's kind of fun to note. And you'll usually, if you fish early in the game, achieve it quickly. Okay, so now we're down to enchantments. Enchantments are going to dramatically affect how many treasure items you catch, how fast you catch them, and whether you have to replace your rod or not. So first two enchantments are Unbreaking and Mending. Mending can only be obtained, there's an example of it not getting caught, so I have to jump out, get it, and jump back in. Mending can only be caught or bought from a librarian, which means you can only catch either a book or a rod with that mending characteristic, or buy it from a librarian. There's no other way to get it in the game. Unbreaking, you can catch a rod in the water or enchant it on your table. That's just going to let your rod last a lot longer. Mending is going to fix it as you go, in case you do not know yet. But really we're interested in Lure and Luck of the Sea. Now with no enchantments on my rod, no Luck of the Sea, my basic rate of catching magic items or treasure is 5%. In a typical rainstorm, that's going to equal just about 3 to 4 items. So saddles, name tags, enchanted rods, bows, books. He just stole my item. Oh no, okay. If you have Luck of the Sea 3, it's going to increase that rate to 11.3%. And in a typical rainstorm, that means you're going to go from 3 to 4 right up to 8. It's a massive difference. And you're going to accumulate magic items very quickly, specifically books. If you fish a lot early in the game, that means those books are going to come in real handy to top up all your diamond armor and your diamond tools. That say you can get an efficiency 4, but there's a cow tripper achievement right here. There we go. Now, on that note, lure is going to cause the fish to bite faster. 5 seconds per level of lure, which means your base fishing rate is going to go in the rain from 33 right up to 50 per nighttime, for example. In a typical rainstorm, that's going to mean you get 75 reels, and that's going to dramatically increase your number of fish you catch, the number of magical items you catch, and so forth. Now, the last item I want to discuss real quick here is a bit of a superstitious item. I find that each spot in any given fishing location has different characteristics. So, for example, I fish here. This might give me more rods. I fish over here, a slightly different setup. I find it might give me more books. This is just an example. It's not the case in this location, but over here, I'm going to end up getting more bows and arrows. So if you find an item or a spot that works, stick with it, because I've seen situations where a single spot consistently delivers, including artificial ponds, consistently delivers 2 times as many magic items as it should. And I've literally cast tens of thousands of casts. So if you get a magic item from a spot, stick with that spot for a while, test it out. If it doesn't work out, try another spot. Some spots are going to be good, some spots are going to be bad. Sometimes spots will go stale, but in general, they'll keep their characteristics. I'll just wait for these guys to die off. I think I've covered all the topics. We'll get away from them. I'm sure because I had to time it with the rain in this video that I might have missed a few items. Please feel free to leave me suggestions of items I missed, comments, any kind of feedback at all is going to be very welcome, and I'll try to respond to you quickly. Now, for those of you who would like to stay for a bit longer, I promised to show you what's going on with this forest mansion here. I particularly chose this seed for this because I knew it and because I knew something would happen at this forest mansion. So my other video contains a seed which has a small Achilles heel, in that there's a single spot of lava which causes, if you don't put it out quickly, it causes the mansion to basically burn to the ground, burn to a crisp. And I wanted to show you the results of that happening. There's a vindicator that got out, but this is what the forest mansion looks like after that single block of lava, which spawns irregularly, basically burn the whole place down. It's almost, oh bugger, that's not good. I did not anticipate him coming over here. Okay, we'll deal with you then. If I can get a block out. Okay, yeah, thank you. So anyway, it's just, I had to show you this because it's just so wild and devastating that if you had access to this mansion and lo and behold, this is what you got left by the time the fire finishes. Looks like it's mostly out. That would be, well, you either have a really unusual home or you're devastated and start the whole seed over because you want this home as a home. But for those of you who are interested, check out the seed. This is what happens if you don't deal with the lava block right away. And I tell you where the lava block is in the seed. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Cheers.